Welcome to Theatre Talk. I'm Ann McBride.
And I'm Ed Shopes.
We're here the first and third Fridays of the month to bring you all the news and interviews about what's happening in the Mid-Willamette Valley theater world.
On today's program, we'll talk with director Mia Apodaca about the July 20th auditions at Keizer Homegrown Theatre for the wickedly funny satire, The Thanksgiving Play.
Then, in today's second interview, Ed and I talk with director Seth Renne about open auditions on July 14th and 16th at Gallery Theatre for the darkly comic ode to young love, Fly By Night. But first, let's get started with our Theatre Talk calendar.
Albany Civic Theater is at albanycivic.org, and coming up July 19th through August 3rd at Albany Civic is Spring Awakening. Set in late 19th century Germany, it tells the story of teenagers discovering their budding sexuality through a folk-infused alternative rock score. August 23rd through 31st, you can see the ACT Youth Summer Camp show, Disney's Little Mermaid Jr., on the Albany Civic Theater stage.
Brush Creek Playhouse at brushcreekplayhouse.com. The School Marms in Trouble melodrama plays August 1st through 18th. See Brush Creek's website and Facebook page for more information.
Children's Educational Theater at cetsalem.org has performances coming up to show the work that students have accomplished at CET's Summer Theater Day Camp. Here's a rundown of the shows. A Midsummer Night's Dream plays at Keizer Rapids Amphitheater on July 19th, 20th, and 21st at noon. Into the Woods Junior plays July 23rd, 24th, and 25th at Chemeketa Community College Auditorium at 6:30 p.m. Three plays, When Elvie Caught the Rainbow, My Father's Dragon, and Boxes are on the South Salem High School courtyard stage July 22nd and 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Law and Order Fairy Tale Unit plays at the Salem Public Library July 23rd, 25th, and 26th at 2 p.m. The one-act play Disaster plays at 6:30 p.m. July 23rd at Capitol Manor, 3 p.m. July 24th at Keizer Community Library, and 2 p.m. July 25th at Clagett Creek Middle School in Keizer. Disney's Newsies Jr. plays at 7 p.m. July 24th, 25th, and 26th at North Salem High School. And the CET Fine Arts Night happens at 6:30 p.m. July 27th at North Salem High School as well. For detailed information about all these shows, including ASL interpretation and ticket prices, go to the CET Facebook page.
Elsinore Theater at elsinoretheater.com. A new stage show, Metropolis the Musical, premieres August 8th through 11th at the historic Elsinore Theater in Salem. Written by McMinnville actor-director Tracy Ward, it combines onstage action with the original 1927 silent film made by Fritz Lang as a backdrop, along with music from the 1984 film restoration. And for information about local events and touring shows on stage at the Elsinore, go to their website and Facebook page.
Gallery Theater at gallerytheater.org has a pair of one-acts coming up, Trifles by Susan Glaspell and Sam Shepard's Fool for Love will run July 26th through August 11th at Gallery. We'll have an interview with directors Marla and Lance Nutman on our July 19th KMUZ Theatre Talk program. Open auditions for Fly By Night are July 14th and 16th at Gallery Theater. This darkly comic rock fable is a sweeping ode to young love set against the backdrop of the Northeast blackout of 1965. It runs October 11th through November 3rd and is directed by Seth Renne with musical direction by Christy Smith. Stay tuned for our interview with Seth Renne, the director, about auditions.
Keizer Homegrown Theater at keizerhomegrowntheater.org. Salem native and New York-based actor and creative Joseph Allen returns to his hometown to team up with local voice teacher Cara Quello for a one-night-only musical theater masterclass on July 12th at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. You can register for one of 6 masterclass performer spots to work with Joseph and Cara at bit.ly/musical theater masterclass. Tickets to observe the masterclass are available using the same link. That address, again, is bit.ly/musical theater masterclass. Open auditions for the Thanksgiving play at Keizer Homegrown Theatre are July 20th. In Larissa Fast Horse's wickedly funny satire, good intentions collide with irrational assumptions as a group of terminally woke teaching artists scrambles to create a pageant that somehow manages to celebrate both Turkey Day and Native American Heritage Month. It's directed at Keizer Homegrown Theatre by Mia Apodaca and runs November 1st through 17th at KHT. We'll talk with Mia later in today's program. And the young actors of the Keizer Homegrown Conservatory will premiere Lovecrafted August 23rd through 31st. This new play by Laramie Dean is adapted from the H.P. Lovecraft stories. 4 survivors of interdimensional terrors share their horror stories in a secluded cabin.
The Majestic Theater is on Facebook at majestic.org. Mr. Burns, a post-electric play, runs September 20th through 29th at the Majestic. After the collapse of civilization, a group of survivors share a campfire and piece together the plot of The Simpsons episode Cape Fear entirely from memory. 7 years later, this and other snippets of pop culture have become the live entertainment of a post-apocalyptic society trying to hold on to its past. Then, 75 years on, these are the myths and legends from which new forms of performance are created. Auditions for Little Shop of Horrors happen July 8th and 9th at the Majestic Theater. Those auditions are by appointment only from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. either day. Visit majestic.org/auditions to sign up. Little Shop is directed by Ruth Manziger and runs October 25th through November 3rd.
Merely Players is a traveling Shakespeare company based in Corvallis that performs irreverent, fast-paced, and fun takes on the Bard's plays. Their latest foray into twisting the canon is Henry IV, The Follies of Falstaff, a comic history that pits drunken hijinks against political drama. Can Prince Hal leave behind his wastrel ways and reclaim his country, his father's respect, and his birthright? Or will the scoundrel Sir John Falstaff drag Hal down into a life of infamy, folly, and hilarious biting insults? A free preview of Act 1 plays on Sunday, July 14th at the Benton County Museum in downtown Corvallis. Full productions will be July 27th at Eola Hills Winery in Rickwall, August 3rd at the Russell Tripp Performance Center at LBCC, August 10th at the Majestic Theater in downtown Corvallis, and August 17th at the Tyee Wine Cellars in Corvallis. For more information and tickets, go to merrilyplayersoregon.com or their Facebook page.
Mid-Valley Productions is a new nonprofit performing arts and events company based in Albany. MVP's inaugural theater production is Hitchin, the Musical, an original coming-of-age story by playwright Ned Heavenrich. It's about people he met as a young man when hitchhiking from Detroit, Michigan to Seattle, Washington in the summer of 1970. Hitchin runs July 5th through 14th at the Russell Tripp Performance Center in the Lynn Benton Community College, Albany campus. Get more information about MVP and Hitchin on the Mid-Valley Productions Facebook page and at midvalleyproductions.org.
Mid-Valley Musical Theater at mvmtheater.org and on Facebook at Mid-Valley Musical Theater. Their summer musical, Mamma Mia, runs August 8th through 17th in the Albany Performing Arts Center at West Albany High School.
For the Mid-Valley Theater Network, director Jeremy Clubb will produce Evil Dead the Musical, October 24th through November 3rd, with a special show on Halloween. Evil Dead will benefit the Mid-Valley Theater Network, and there will be some fundraisers coming up this summer. Check out the DoTheNecronomicon.com webpage for more information.
Pinnacle Theater at pinnacletheater.org. Pinnacle Theater is hosting a staged reading of the first act of Spiral the Musical, a new production in development on July 20th and 21st. It's directed by Catherine Kinsman and Robert Sahlberg. More information is available on the website at pinnacletheater.org. Listen to our interview with Catherine Kinsman about this exciting project on our KMUZ Theatre Talk podcast. The side-splitting murder mystery comedy Clue comes to the Pinnacle stage August 23rd through September 14th. Directed by Brandon Gitchell, Clue draws inspiration from the well-known movie and the beloved board game. The story unfolds at a secluded mansion where 6 strangers gather for a peculiar dinner party filled with murder and blackmail. And auditions for Footloose the Musical are happening July 6th and 20th at Pinnacle Theater. It's directed by Jerry Greeno and runs October 11th through November 2nd. You can find out more about the auditions on our KMUZ Theatre Talk podcast interview with Jerry and at pinnacletheater.org and on Facebook.
The Salem Playhouse is at thesalemplayhouse.com. And Zach Defoe and the Salem Playhouse offer acting classes for both kids and adults. To sign up, go to thesalemplayhouse.com and click on the Classes tab.
Valley Shakespeare Company at Western Oregon University. Summer theater returns to the stage at Western Oregon University with Ken Ludwig's uproarious Sherwood, The Adventures of Robin Hood, directed by Hannah Fawcett. Packed with thrills, romance, and immortal characters like Little John, Friar Tuck, and Maid Marian, Sherwood, The Adventures of Robin Hood tells the enduring story of a hero of the people who takes on the ruthless powers that be. Performances will be 6:30 p.m. August 1st through 3rd in the Rice Auditorium at WOU. There is also a 2 p.m. preview on July 31st. See the Valley Shakespeare Company's Facebook page for more information.
Theater 33 at Willamette University is at theater33.org and also on Facebook. Theater 33 Summer Festival 2024 of Original Plays in Progress by Pacific Northwest Playwrights continues through August 4th at Willamette University. Here's what's coming up next. Gone by Lolly Ward and directed by Rod Ceballos runs July 25th through August 4th at the festival. A will provides peace of mind as 4 step-siblings divide their anticipated inheritance with generosity, with suspicion, and with greed. Gamble the night away, but whatever you do, don't leave the house. Your family is watching. And then the remaining 2024 New Play Festival pop-up plays include Fragments, a series of 6 interactive playwrights. That one runs July 27th and 28th at the Hopewell Hub. And in Wife of Headless Man Investigates Her Own Disappearance by Yusuf L., a woman thinks she may have been drugged at her interview with a tech giant. It plays at Willamette University August 3rd and 4th. Information about the remaining stage shows and pop-up performances is on Theater 33's Facebook page and website. Catch our interview about the New Play Summer Festival with Theater 33's Thomas Nabhan and Susan Cormel, wherever you get your Theater Talk podcasts.
Director Stephen Munshaw and professional members of the Willamette Valley theater community are working together with Chemeketa Community College to present Lionel Bart's classic musical Oliver, August 6th through 27th at the Jerry Frank Amphitheater in Salem's Riverfront Park. For tickets, go to Eventbrite.
Willamette University has announced their 2024-25 season of plays. They include Urinetown, the musical, a hilarious satire of the legal system, capitalism, social irresponsibility, populism, bureaucracy, and musical theater. It's set in a city that bans private toilets during a 20-year drought, forcing people to pay to pee at public loos. Urinetown runs November 1st through 17th. February 14th through 23rd, Willamette Theater presents Far Away, an hour-long futuristic nightmare in 3 short scenes that envisions a world where the promise of violence broods and nothing is to be trusted. And closing the Willamette Theater season, April 11th through 26th, is Bloom Bloom Pow, the climate doom comedy inspired by 1950s monster movies, as well as the real-life 2014 crisis in Toledo, Ohio, when the tap water became deadly for humans due to toxic algal blooms. Get more information and reserve your season tickets at wutheater.com.
That wraps up today's KMUZ Theatre Talk calendar for plays around the Mid-Willamette Valley.
In our first interview, Ann and I talked with director Mia Apodaca about July 20th auditions for the wickedly funny satire, The Thanksgiving Play, at Keizer Homegrown Theatre.
Welcome to Theatre Talk, Mia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's really great to have you here. The Thanksgiving Play is coming up at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. It seems a little odd to be thinking about Thanksgiving when it's so hot outside. But this is a satire written by a playwright called Larissa Fasthorse. Can you tell us a little bit about the show, Mia?
The Thanksgiving Play was sort of written for all audiences. Larissa Fasthorse sort of knew that a lot of theater goers and participants are white, but she wanted to inject some of that Native and Indigenous history into there as well to provide a learning opportunity for audience members and cast members and everyone involved in the process. So it follows 4 people trying to create the most politically correct Thanksgiving play. It's absolutely wild, and I was introduced to it my sophomore year of college, and I immediately fell in love, understanding the complexity behind the sort of humor and paying attention to a lot of the Indigenous social justice projects going on around the world, and especially in our nation, since we do live on stolen land. And I think it's always a timely play. There's always something going on. But something that makes me laugh about this play is how I have interacted with someone that genuinely acts like each one of these characters.
You know, satires are important to theater. Farce is important to theater.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I've seen around my theater career is that the best satires, the best farces make fun of the things that we love the most or the things that are current in the news. Sounds like this one is really going to be fun. Tell us about the characters that you are auditioning for.
There is, of course, Logan, who is this determined high school drama teacher who always wants to sort of do the most risk-taking. She has a petition from the school board for her to sort of step down from her position, and creating this play is sort of what she's thinking is going to save her and show that she's this amazing director / theater creator. Let's see who else we got. Jackson, who is very, very concerned with political correctness, sort of tuned in to social justice projects going on worldwide, making sure that everything is said correctly, almost to a fault. And it gets them into some sort of situations where everyone's thinking really, really hard about the best way to say this, but sometimes, best way to say things is just sort of bluntly and honestly. And then, of course, we have Alicia, who is an actress who was hired to sort of be the Indigenous actress, Indigenous voice in the production, but it is later revealed that she is not actually Indigenous, and she has all of these profiles and resumes to reflect her being able to play any race as needed. So she said, and at some point in the play, she says, "Oh, I sent you my Native American resume." And it details her dressed up in traditional regalia as her headshot. I mean, she goes on to explain that she has one for every race and every ethnicity. And she's very much a people pleaser, but she also is the only one throughout the course of the play that actually changes and learns from the people around her. The most eccentric of them all is Caden, who is a very academic, I like to describe him as a aspiring theater dramaturg with no experience. So he's this elementary school history teacher who is kind of awkward, but super enthusiastic about making sure that everything is historically correct, down to there being bonfires on stage and having everyone else be like, "That's actually not possible. Have you even seen a theater play before?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, of course I have. That's why I'm here." But it's a really, really wonderful way to watch these four people work together, and the conflicts they have together they're honest conflicts. They're things that happen sort of in everyday theater, especially when theater makers are doing non-white plays. And a lot of it is honest dialogue, and some of it is just, I don't know how to put it better, but some kind of just like white theater being white theater.
Can you give an instance of that?
Historically, theater has been a white space where it's always been seen as sort of a higher art, a sort of classic piece of art. But theater has evolved to become sort of a performance or a demonstration or a call to action, and it can really be whatever we want it to be. The white theater part of it is sort of making sure that sort of theater is beautiful, and theater doesn't always have to be beautiful to be effective.
Well, for me, this is an interesting idea because we're exploring an all-white cast trying to create a politically correct Thanksgiving play that is inclusive of tribal themes and that sort of thing. But the paradox is it's written by a Native American playwright. Larissa Fasthorse wrote this. Give us an idea of where you're headed with this play, how you're going to take this theme and make it work in today's world.
The way that Larissa opens the character descriptions is saying all ages are open. POC who can pass as white will be considered for all characters. And that's something that I definitely plan to bring into my casting process, because I am a queer Mexican theater director. So I have some experience being excluded from certain aspects of theater. And I want to make sure that this is, number one, an accessible production for all people, as well as making sure that I have the best, most equipped actors who are ready to take on this challenge.
Well, why do you think satire is a way to do this as opposed to a more dramatic interpretation of this issue?
I think it's definitely a more accessible form of media where people are allowed to laugh at certain things. And I think sort of humor is something that always sort of, gets the brain going, creating those new synapses and trying to think, why did I find that funny? Was there something else I could have found funny? Sort of that self-exploration after the fact, instead of sort of as a drama. I feel like whenever I see a sort of dramatic play or piece of media, it always tends to sort of sit with me as in, I'm not allowed to laugh at this. None of this is funny. And it always feels like I have to think really, really hard about it afterwards. But with satire, you can definitely take bits and pieces and unpack it as you go in little chunks based on what was funny. I just find it to be a more accessible form of theater for anyone, because it's pretty difficult when a drama is sort of your first introduction to theater, because then you don't know what to think or feel sometimes, speaking from experience. But if you see a satire that does have this sort of political commentary, there's so much to talk about.
Let's just talk about the nuts and bolts of what you're expecting to see at auditions.
Yes. My plan is to sort of do a fun warm up to get everyone excited and calm down, because auditions are always anxiety inducing no matter what anyone says. And then I plan to have some cold reading from scripts, as well as some chemistry testing with some script pieces as well. But I really want it to be a community building learning opportunity for anyone, but also I want to find my people.
So the cast is 4 people.
Yes, it is. I want to find people who are willing to have difficult conversations or uncomfortable conversations about the topics that are being talked about, being aware of what this play means and how Larissa FastHorse is the first known Native American Indigenous playwright to be on, I think it's one of the lists of 10 best plays. And understanding that while this is a satire, this is funny, also understanding this political
serious
commentary. Absolutely. Yeah, because part of it is very serious and it should be a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
But overall, I just want fun people who are dedicated to theater. And personally, the gender assignments aren't really important to me, except for Alicia. So I want anyone of any gender or presentation to audition for these roles.
And Alicia is the mixed race?
So she is white, but she's the one that can play any race.
Oh. I recognize this type. In show business, there are many people. I remember talking to Lonnie Anderson, and she was talking about playing a Native American.
Yeah.
If you've seen any 1940s, 1970s, or even later Western film,
Oh, yeah.
you've seen red face.
Yes.
You've seen cultural appropriation alive and well in the film industry, and we know it exists on stage. If you've ever seen The King and I, or or South Pacific, many of the classic theater pieces out there have parts that are culturally appropriated by white actors.
Absolutely.
You said that something just a moment ago about, some people might not understand the humor in this show, but I think there's no humor, there's no laughter without some kind of pain point, right? I mean, whether it's slapstick or a remark that someone makes that in a satire that makes you raise an eyebrow and say, geez, you poor sap, you just don't get it. And that's funny,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have a lot to look forward to.
I do. I am very, very excited.
You have a dual major from Willamette University. You just got your degrees this spring. Tell us about your dual major and how that has brought you to this place.
I always knew from sort of high school, I knew I wanted to go into theater in some capacity, and directing spoke to me really strongly. And I decided to pursue that. So I have the theater major with the directing emphasis from Willamette. And then I also have the global cultural studies major, which I believe helps me sort of understand a lot of different cultures that are different from my own. I have had the honor and pleasure to be able to take a lot of courses about Indigenous social justice, social issues, and history as well. So while I'm not fluent in those issues, I do have an understanding that not a lot of people have. A couple summers ago, I did a directing certificate course at Yale in New Haven. I was very, very lucky, but it gave me a lot of confidence in being a director. And I think that's really going to help me break into the professional theater world, especially in Salem, where I have grown for the past 4 years.
Given your degrees and your background and the content of the show, it seems to me that there is knowledge and experience to be gained by the actors and the audience alike. What do you think the actors are going to take away from this production? And what do you hope the audience will take away from this production when they see it?
I definitely want my actors to walk away with a better understanding of Indigenous activism and social political commentary that they might not have noticed in media beforehand. I definitely want everyone to come away with something, whether that's from a directing standpoint. I try to be a very community-based director. And in terms of the audience, I really hope that they sort of do the same and they think about the play for a while afterwards. And that way it's an introduction into Indigenous sovereignty and social justice activism for everyone.
We've been talking with Mia Apodaca, the director of the Thanksgiving play at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. Auditions for the Thanksgiving play are July 20th. This is a wicked, fun satire where good intentions collide with absurd assumptions as a troupe of terminally woke teaching artists create a pageant that somehow manages to celebrate both traditional Thanksgiving Day and Native American Heritage Month. Sounds like a collision in culture. It is, but it's a lot of fun. So the show runs November 1st through 17th at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. Go to auditions July 20th, actors, to take part in this wonderful play. Thank you so much, Mia Apodaca, for joining us here on KMUZ Theatre Talk.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Today's second guest is director Seth Renne, who will tell us about open auditions for Fly By Night on July 14th and 16th at Gallery Theatre. This darkly comic rock fable is a sweeping ode to young love set against the backdrop of the Northeast blackout of 1965.
We're talking with Seth Renne, director of Fly By Night, auditioning at the Gallery Theatre July 14th and 15th. Welcome to Theater Talk, Seth.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, Seth, it's good to have you back with us. I haven't talked to you in a while. Fly By Night was originally done as an off-Broadway musical. How did you find this show, and why did you decide to bring it to Gallery Theatre?
Yeah, I saw it a few years back, around 2016. They did it at a theater in Portland. And I ended up going back and watching it 3 times because it was so moving to me. I was very lucky that I got to go in not really knowing anything about it and just being swept away by the story of it. The way that it just uses storytelling and music and a small cast to tell this really beautiful story about 6 people whose lives intersect with each other in 1965 New York, right before and then during the blackout of the Northeast that happened. And it's a story of how people's lives are intertwined with each other in ways that you would never see, this invisible fabric that's woven through the universe. And it really, really moved me. And I felt like it was a story that I wanted to bring to our audience here.
Well, I think in reading the recap for this story, that time is also a character in this plot, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's not told in a linear fashion. Everything that happens in this story happens between November 9th, 1964 and November 9th, 1965. But we jump around in time to really get a comprehensive look at this one year in these people's lives.
And there's a narrator, right?
Correct. So there's 6 characters we follow, and then a narrator that is weaving this path through the story and taking on the role of the other people in their world that they interact with. So the narrator will throw on a hat really quick and be a ticket seller at a train station as a character is grabbing a ticket, and then turn around and is the ticket seller at a opera house selling a ticket to La Traviata.
So isn't the narrator is sort of in control of time.
The narrator is in control of time in the way that the narrator is taking you to the specific moments. So they're not controlling anything except what we're seeing at that time.
It's rather like how people tell stories in real life.
Absolutely.
It's not always, your stories are not always linear, right?
Yeah. Something strikes him and he starts telling you about this thing that happened. And he goes, well, in order to actually see this, we need to go back here and look at this so you understand what's happening.
So there are three main characters in this story. It's kind of like a love triangle.
Yes. So there is Harold, who is kind of our main character. They refer to him as a melancholy sandwich maker. And then there are two sisters that he comes in contact with during this year. And they end up in a bit of a love triangle.
And there's a guy that runs the sandwich shop and some other characters as well.
Yeah, so we also meet Mr. Crabble, who runs the sandwich shop that Harold works at. We run into Harold's dad, Mr. McClam. And then we also run into a theater director, writer named Joey Storms.
How many actors are you looking for at auditions?
So we'll be casting 7 actors. It's 5 men and 2 women, or male identified and female identified.
Can you describe what the music is going to be like for auditioning?
For the auditions, our music director, Christy Smith, she will be our music director and playing for the auditions. So we're asking for 16 to 32 bars of a musical theater song of your choice. If you would like to bring in a track, we will have a Bluetooth speaker available so that you can do it that way if you prefer. But Christy is putting together a 4-piece combo for the show. The music is referred to as a rock fable. It doesn't feel like traditional musical theater music.
Right. And how rock is it?
It's not super rock heavy. It's a 4-piece combo, so it'll be piano, drums, bass, and guitar. And the music has fable is the best word I can use for it. It feels like the music that tells a story. There are some songs that feel a lot more 60s rock. It's not like modern day rock.
Yes.
Where the guitar and the drums really carry it. But there's some stuff that really does pull back and is just this really beautiful, tender music.
Do you have any advice for actors that are going to audition for the types of songs they might use as an audition number?
I would suggest that people take a listen. The original recording is available on Apple Music and Spotify and all of that. What I always will tell people coming into an audition is bring a song that you are very, very comfortable with, even if it doesn't necessarily fit the style of the show. That's what the callback is for. I want to see you at your best. And especially in a more unknown show such as this one, where there's not a large catalog to go to try to find something similar. I would rather see you bring something in that you just are really, really comfortable with and shows off your voice.
And that shows off your voice. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. You can learn to sing other styles.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have a good voice.
Yeah, I want to see you singing something that you are very, very comfortable with.
Have you done a lot of musicals? I know you did The Sound of Music. That talk about different.
Yeah, I've directed quite a few musicals. Most recently, I did Into the Woods at Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
I did Sound of Music. I've done Chicago. I have done The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, the Broadway musical, which has a real kind of country.
It's a beautiful musical. Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
Fly By Night is so different, though. I mean, this is a small cast, almost cabaret style musical. What is driving you to do a show like this rather than something big and Broadway like you've done in the past?
I love the small intimate pieces when I get an opportunity to do them. That was one of the things I loved the most about doing Into the Woods was it was on the relatively small side, and it allowed us to really dig into those characters and tell a really beautiful story. And that's what I'm looking forward to with this one. We're performing this in our arena theater. as opposed to our main stage. So it's going to be a very intimate production. The 7 actors that get chosen for this are going to have a lot of time that we do character study and scene work and really dig into the relationship of these people so that we can tell an honest and true story to our audience.
Well, what do you think is going to be the bigger challenge, or is there a challenge to doing this in the smaller space at Gallery in the Black Box?
Space is always a limitation in there, so we are designing a set that can be just a unit set and not have to worry about taking us to different locations. And then having a live band also is going to be an interesting challenge in that space.
Yeah.
We're working on how we soundproof around our musicians so that it's not overwhelming in that space.
What an exciting opportunity for you. You've done very big musicals, and this is really different. And it sounds like the rehearsal period will be as exciting as the performance.
I hope so. I feel like this is one of those pieces that is going to allow musical theater performers the opportunity to work almost like we're doing a straight show.
Right.
Because it's so heavily dependent upon the truth of the story that we're telling. The music influences and helps us set the moods and tell the audience in a really moving way what's happening. But it really is going to come down to the small, intimate moments in that space where the characters in the audience are connecting to tell this story.
Well, that brings up this question. How do you plan to use design of the set and costumes and lighting to help you tell that story in the Black Box space?
Lighting is going to be essential for this show, partially because light plays such a huge role in the show. It centers around a blackout.
Oh, right.
Using lighting to tell this story is a major part of it. Our set, we are designing a very fluid set, something with pieces that can move around and become multiple things. Turn it around and it's a bench, and then turn it around the other side and it is front end of a car. A moving staircase that will come around and be able to move in all directions to be able to get some different levels on what's going on. We're going for a very fluid design where everything is located either on stage already or just off. So there's no scene transition. People are just bringing something out with them using.
You don't want to interrupt the action.
Yeah. And there's no blackouts in the show until we get to the actual blackout.
Oh, that's fascinating. That really throws the blackout into it's important.
Yeah. And it's central to the plot of the show.
Ah.
We've been talking with Seth Renne, the director of Fly By Night, which is going to be at the Gallery Theatre later on this year. Auditions are being held July 14th and 16th at Gallery Theatre, with callbacks as needed on July 17th. This is an opportunity for cast members to really dig into a very interesting story centered around a cast of 7 around the 1965 blackout in New York City. It's a tale about people making their way and finding their light even through the darkest times. So get ready to prepare a musical number of about a minute or so long. Have a second piece ready if you need it, and take a look at the audition requirements at gallerytheater.org and click on the auditions link. Well, Seth Renne, thank you so much for joining us here on KMUZ Theatre Talk to tell us about Fly By Night.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy to get to talk to you too.
It's time to wind up today's KMUZ Theatre Talk program. Thank you for joining us. Next Friday at 9 a.m., tune in to KMUZ at 100.7 FM to hear Talking About Art with Joel Zack. KMUZ Theatre Talk is a proud member of the Mid-Valley Theater Network.
KMUZ Theatre Talk comes your way 9 a.m. the first and third Friday of the month on your radio or smart speaker at 100.7 and 88.5 FM, on your favorite radio app, or streaming live at kmuz.org. You can also listen to KMUZ Theatre Talk anytime, wherever you get your podcasts.
Ed and I return July 19th with a brand new KMUZ Theatre Talk program. Meanwhile, check our KMUZ Theatre Talk Facebook page for news and updates about live theater in the Mid-Willamette Valley.
If you haven't yet joined in to support KMUZ Theatre Talk and the rest of KMUZ's great community radio programs, go to kmuz.org right now, click on the Pledge to Your Favorite Show box, and choose KMUZ Theatre Talk. And thanks for your support. Until next time,
We'll see you in the front row.